almost 5. Let's sing Song of the Garden. The Lord into his garden comes, the spices yield a rich perfume. The lilies grow and thrive, the lilies grow and thrive. Refreshing showers of grace divine from the Father flows to every vine, and makes the dead revive, and makes the dead revive. Oh, that this dry and barren ground in springs of water may abound. Fruitful soil become, a fruitful soil become. The desert blossoms as the rose, when the Savior conquers all his foes, and makes his people one, and makes his people one. Come, brethren, you that love the Lord, and taste the sweetness of his words. In Father's ways go on, in Father's ways go on. Our troubles and our trials here will only make us richer there. When we arrive at home, when we arrive at home. Yes, all rise. Let's have a short prayer. Today is Saturday. There's also one standing bow to our beloved Japan as a sign of our respect to them. 하나님 과 성품의 저희들의 앞에 경배 바로 our most loving heavenly parents. Today, Saturday, November the 28th, 2015, here at Washington Family Church. We pray for the victory and the success of our two parents with the rest, with our two husbands and the rest of the two families here still on earth. And our two fathers is in the spirit world, guiding us even here in the Hoon Dok hae. And we pray for the two grandchildren and our elder sister, Benjamin, the president of the Family Federation for World Peace, and her husband, Intuk Min, the vice president of the Family Federation for World Peace. We pray for their success always, and we pray for the cooperation of the staff there in the international headquarters in Seoul, Korea. And we pray for all the missionaries all over the world that they are sending all over the world, and all the umbrella organizations like the U.S.A. We pray for the chairman, Cheon Seong Gyeong, and his family, and all the continental leaders, all the national leaders all over the world, especially here in America. Reverend Dr. Michael Balcom, his wife Fumi, the children, the staff there at Forest Church Street, including Reverend Wilhelm Stevens, the vice president of the Family Federation for World Peace in the United States of America. And we pray as well for all the district leaders all over the world, the regional leaders, and pastors, especially here in the Mid-Atlantic area from Tulsa, Texas. We pray for Reverend James Stewart and his wife, Fumi, the children Alan and Anna and the congregation there. And in Norfolk, Virginia, we pray for Reverend Akila Ota. And in Richmond, Virginia, we pray for Father Adrian Baez and his wife and his son. And here in the Beltway, we pray for Mrs. Lejeune for Northern Virginia, and Pastor Robert Love of Maryland Center, and co-pastor Reverend Jim Busby, Reverend Zagery Jones and others. And we pray for the Washington D.C. area, headed by the ACLC chairman, Archbishop Dr. Collins, his wife and 2 children, and our pastor, Reverend Zagery Oliver, and his wife, Fumi and his daughter Diana, and all the blessed families who are connected even now in Hoon Dok hae. And every weekend in the Sunday service, we pray for all these families that they can be on time when we start our Sunday service, always for Heavenly Parents, which is happening tomorrow. We pray that all the good spirits, all our good ancestors, absolute good spirits, will always remind us our responsibilities as full-time members on Sunday. And today we pray for the success of the activity here in the church, to clean the church. We pray for all the good spirits to be with us today, and in Hoon Dok hae, and we pray all of us in all our names. And in my name, I can ask Francis speaking on our blessed Assembly family. I'm Jew, and Jew. Good morning. We're now on page 299, Inheriting True Parents' Heart. There's only one more topic here. Number 11. If the true parents do not appear, neither can true children. As long as no true person existed on earth, the true parents could not appear. So the Unification Church is saying, let us acknowledge that we need true parents, and let us find and attend them. We are saying we should be sons and daughters of true parents. When we become their sons and daughters, we can inherit what they have. The true parents' right of inheritance includes heaven and earth and even God. We too should inherit even God. If there were no owners of heaven and earth, heaven and earth would have no value. We have to be people who can fully uplift the value of heaven and earth and ascribe value to them for eternity. We're now on page 230. We also need to meet the one who can officially recognize that. That being is God. Thus, we should gain true parents' right of inheritance. 12. The true parents are the hope of God and the hope of humankind. They have been eagerly anticipated by heaven and earth. They have come to the earth to resolve our bitter history and to inherit the great work of God's heart. You must inherit the heart of the true parents. In order to inherit their heart, you must experience at least some part of God's sorrow as well as true parents' sorrow. Even if you cannot fully understand it. In order to claim the earth anew, you naturally must understand the hard work being done by heaven. If you cannot fully understand it, you must at least grasp some aspect of the heart and of the grief of the true parents who have worked hard on earth. Number 13. If you want to receive God's love and possess it as your own, you must base it on God's life. Otherwise, you cannot receive His love. Once you have His life within you, you can feel His grace without becoming people who are connected to God's life. You cannot convey God's love to others. That is why you need to receive grace. Grace is revealed in visions or dreams. You should be able to cry in yearning for true parents who are the very embodiments of God. You must long to see them over and over again. You must want to serve them, even by preparing a humble bowl of rice or glass of water and offering it to them. So I heard this yesterday. Anyway, I'm reading on. You must have much sincere desire for them that you cannot help but shed tears in yearning. If you have that heart, you will become with my heart, one with my heart. You will breathe together with me. In so doing, you will come to know the standard of my character and how it is authored by my past life course, and what is in its background. Furthermore, you will be able to inherit these things and take them as your own. Even if I have to face death, I must fulfill my responsibility by dealing with the totality of events and situations that took place in the background of history. This is the course of my destiny, so I have to move forward no matter what it takes. I cannot back down. What should your attitude be as people who must inherit the Spirit from true parents? Up to now, you have lived as you liked. However, from now on, you have to take it as your lifelong destiny to inherit my foundation and protect it. You will have the mission to guard it, even at the risk of your lives. 15. The road you are traveling does not end with receiving the blessing. After you receive the blessing, if you are thankful to heaven, you will receive even more blessings. Yet, you should not just be grateful as an individual. More importantly, you should never forget that you receive the blessing on behalf of your tribe, your people, and all people of the world. At the same time, you should know that with the blessing you have also inherited the responsibility that true parents are carrying out on earth. 16. You need to inherit the realm of true parents' victory. As individuals, you should have nothing to be ashamed of in front of heaven, earth, and true parents. Therefore, you should live with absolute love, absolute obedience, and absolute faith. You should lead a life of devotion and sacrifice for the true parents, based on total oneness of heart that makes you willing to offer everything you have. With that heart, you should strive to give more love to them and to others than you receive from them. Only when you live this way can true parents be liberated. God's realm of liberation can only emerge when society becomes a place where people love one another more than the true parents love humankind. You need to become sons and daughters of true parents, whom they can praise, their beloved sons and daughters in whom they can rejoice. Then the joyful realm of liberation can emerge. You should not forget that you stand upholding the original mainstream of tradition, in which you must fulfill your duties as patriots, saints, and divine sons and daughters of heart. Page 232, chapter 5, is a fairly new topic, inheriting the victory of true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. Section 1. The true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. Number 1. The true parents are the parents of heaven and earth, while God is the parent of the cosmos. The parents of heaven and earth are on the earth for one generation. Their life ends after one generation. The cosmos is God's home. It is eternal. The Chinese characters for cosmos, including home and two people, the character representing top knot, signifies being comfortable. Since it is in the character for home, it signifies a house where two people can live freely. So the cosmos is a house where two people can live together freely. That is why we say that the cosmos-centered ideology is Godism. From now on, you have to understand the difference between the parents of the cosmos and the parents of heaven and earth. When we say parents of heaven and earth, we are referring to the two perfected people who represented God in substantial form and who stand in the central position for all matters of the world, of this world. First subtopic: parent of cosmos and parents of heaven and earth. The parents of the cosmos is God. The cosmos here refers to God's home. The spirit world is God's home, and earth is also God's home. The parents of heaven and earth stand on this earth in the position to be true parents of this fallen world. With the holy wedding ceremony of the parents of heaven and earth and the holy wedding ceremony of the parent of the cosmos, both have joined in virtuous union. These ushers in the time when the two worlds, the spirit world and the earthly world, come together as one and can be offered as a fruit to heaven at the enthronement ceremony of the parent of the cosmos and the parents of heaven and earth. What is the difference between God and true parents? God is the deity and true parents are human beings. When the deity and these human beings unite together, they become the nucleus and the center of a world where fountains of love flow unceasingly, like a mountain spring, and the sun shines for eternity. When such a world comes, the spirit world and the earthly world will be liberated, and in unity they will form one ideal kingdom. Number 4. The parent of the cosmos and the parents of heaven and earth bear fruit in human beings. Even God cannot achieve the purpose of love on His own. Being incorporeal, there is no way for God to bring his sons and daughters who live in the world of substance to the kingdom of heaven and make them its citizens. Without assuming a form, he cannot do it. Number 5. We call our heavenly parent the parents of the cosmos. And we call true parents on earth the parents of heaven and earth. Everything could have been completed in Adam's family if the parent of the cosmos and the parents of heaven and earth had become one at that time. Then all could have been joined in ties of true love, true life, and true lineage, and all would have settled in Adam's family. Adam's family was supposed to have been the beginning point of the world and the starting point of God's blessing for the world. That one family was to be the owner that would have opened the gate to God's nation, which is the kingdom of heaven. By inheriting the tradition of that family, people would have become sons and daughters within the realm of the royal family and would have gone directly to the kingdom. They would not have needed religion, the Savior, the Messiah, the Lord at his second advent, or the true parents. They would already have been able to serve the heavenly parent in the palace of the heavenly kingdom. 25:25. Subtopic: the era after the coming of heaven and the true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. Number 6. The most important words in the Unification Church are the parent of the cosmos, the parents of heaven and earth, and the parents of heaven. Earth and humankind, God's ideal is not to become the parents of the cosmos or the parents of heaven and earth. It is to manifest as the parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. That has been the ideal and hope of God's creation. Among these parents, we need the parent of the cosmos and the parents of heaven and earth. But we need the parents of heaven, earth, and humankind even more. Yet until now, no one has ever known such parents. Because Adam and Eve could not attain perfection as human beings, they could not perfect God, nor could they perfect themselves as the parents of heaven and earth. Even God cannot find love on his own. Likewise, the parents of heaven and earth cannot experience love without having partners of love. However, with God standing in the position of the mind and the true parent standing in the position of the body, you stand in the position of God's grandchildren, the third generation. Hence, these two sets of parents bear fruit in you, and you become the seeds that can be harvested and stored in the heavenly kingdom. Therefore, the parents of heaven, earth, and humankind are the most precious. We're going to page 234. Had human beings not fallen, God would have become manifest in the parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. God would have entered directly into the people's hearts. He would have become embodied in them. And then, when the two people loved each other as husband and wife and had children, God would have become the real parent of that family. Until now, people have not had the opportunity to attend God as their parent in this way. Nevertheless, the ideal of creation is that God would be embodied in His children, create a family with them, and then expand that family into a people, nation, world, and cosmos. Yet due to the human fall, God was unable to become embodied, and He was unable to bear children and bequeath everything to them. Being unable to give birth to children in the flesh, He could not become the parent with form. In the end, everything must be perfected on the earth. Both God and true parents have to reach perfection on earth. Had that occurred in the beginning, the individuals of that original family on earth would have represented the world. Likewise, this family had to expand to a tribe, a people, and a nation that would represent the world, and so on up to the cosmos. These needed to emerge on earth. With the fulfillment of all this, everyone would have entered the kingdom of heaven to abide therein. This is the viewpoint from the ideal of creation. However, that world never came into existence. God, who is in the parent of the cosmos, and human beings who were supposed to become the parents of heaven and earth, were split apart. Still, in the end, they have to unite and become the parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. That is the ultimate hope. God attains perfection on earth, not in the spirit world. The incorporeal God has to attain perfection in His substantial body. Number 9. The Old Testament age was the time for recovering all the lost things of creation based on offering sacrifices. The New Testament age was the time for bringing all people, Cain and Abel, together. The era of the second coming is the time when the Heavenly Father and the earthly father and mother become one as the parents of heaven and earth. Thus, the era of the second coming is the time for receiving in your families the lineage of the parent of the cosmos, the parents of heaven and earth, and the parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. It is the era of the new heaven and new earth, when under these parents' authority there is no room whatsoever for Satan to accuse or invade. This means that the age is changing from the era before the coming of heaven to the era after the coming of heaven. I have come to this overall conclusion through which everything is made clear. In order for the parents of heaven, earth, and humankind to arise, one man and one woman, each with mind-body unity, must become one and settle as a family. When the time comes that they do this, then the era of liberation is at hand. It will be the era of complete freedom, when God's lineage can be spread throughout the world. Now, with true parents having reached the top of the world level, even the era of complete freedom has been established. Hence, a new heaven and new earth is upon us, as the era before the coming of heaven comes to a close and the era after the coming of heaven begins. With the arrival of new heaven and a new earth centered on God, we see the emergence of the King of Peace. Number 11, the era before the coming of heaven has passed. The era after the coming of heaven is approaching. Therefore, we need to recover not only the day of the victory of the number 10, combining two halves, Sang-hab Sang-hab but also the year of victory. Satan willfully took possession of not only the day but also the year and controlled them. But with the power of the parent of the cosmos, the parents of heaven and earth, and the parents of heaven, earth, and humankind, I did what the incorporeal God was unable to do, and what Jesus was prevented from doing during his time in the flesh. By means of the physical body, I have enabled God's sons and daughters to be brought into the world, the children of the parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. The families that have received the blessing are the beginning point of this. Without blessed families, God cannot have his tribe, nation, or world. Number 12, you are no longer sinners. You have been freed from the sin of the fall, and you have even come to the liberated nation, Cheon. But even in the nation of Cheon, some are still convicts on death row. I have to liberate even those who are serving life sentences, people who would otherwise be in hell for eternity. That is why I proclaim the age of complete freedom. The day of the victory of number 10, combining two halves, was the turning point between the era before the coming of heaven and the era after the coming of heaven. It signaled the time when a new heaven and new earth could begin. Based on that day, God could recover all that he had lost, including the day and the year. He opened up days and years in which all the wealth of the world, all material things and all people, everything that had been lost in past days and years could be recovered in the new era of the new heaven and new earth. It's 5:36. Let me see. Number 13, maybe last paragraph. God himself needs to live in the family, embodied in people who are having sons and daughters. That is the kingdom of heaven, centering on the family in which God dwells. The kingdom of heaven on earth and the kingdom of heaven in the spirit world are one world, not two. Anything that is not of the kingdom will fade away. It will be repulsed. These elements must be completely eradicated. Once that is done, everything will be governed by a new law. Therefore, we need to remove everything that is of the era before the coming of heaven and make things new for the era after the coming of heaven. That single family of unity will expand to a people, and that people will create a newly restructured nation in heaven. It will be God's nation and our original homeland. So there's one more paragraph before a new subtopic, the responsibility of parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. Let me read number 14. With the coming of true parents, we have entered an era that transcends religion, transcends nationality, and transcends history. It is the era when true parents take dominion. Their dominion connects the Old Testament age, the New Testament age, and the completed Testament age. Moreover, it unites heaven and earth. This is how the parent of the cosmos and the parents of heaven and earth will govern in this era. Earth was far distant from the high spirit realm of heaven, and no relationship could be built between them. They could not even form a relationship with each other. But today is the time when the relationship can be built. That is what made possible the starting point of the true parents of the cosmos, the true parents of heaven and earth, as the king and queen of the blessed families of peace and unity. Very powerful. So tomorrow on page 236 we will be reading the responsibility of the parents of heaven, earth and humankind. And today we read about inheriting the victory of true parents of heaven and earth and humankind. Subtopics: the parents of the cosmos and the parents of heaven and earth. And we read also a subtopic before that, inheriting true parents' heart. And the era of coming of heaven and the true parents of heaven and earth and humankind. So is there anybody who wants to share about our reading today? Anyone? Are you still there? Hello? Anyone who wants to share about our reading today? So the more we share, we can get 100% back from what we read. I might only remember 60%, you can remember 30%, and all of that will come to 100% if one more will give 10%. Anyone? Yes, good morning, Zagery Oliver. Oh, welcome back. Conclusion. Yes.
I think in all that was said, this stood out to me. What Father said that the Old Testament had its purpose, the New Testament was bringing people together, and the completed Testament is finally heaven of the heavenly parent of the heavens and the heavenly parent of heaven and earth meet and they become one.
Mm-hmm.
And this becomes the conclusion of history. And so all the hard-earned effort, sacrifice that was made in order to bring the New Testament to the level it has reached has not been in vain, but has a final point, a final juncture that it has to emerge into. And I realize that more and more, that they have
Yeah.
in my heart because it was something I was thinking about while in Africa as well. And the importance of America right now. I can see how important America is as a Christian nation in all of finally bringing God's children together. But also thinking you can only bring children together if there's there needs to be some sort of glue or some sort of bait that will bring them together so they have, in some respects, have come together. But now how do we connect them to the new parents of heaven and earth for the final salvation, the final restoration of history, the final restoration of true love to become the order of the day? I dreamed last night
Yeah.
that, it's very interesting that I dreamed last night that finally we cannot talk about our good character, good nature, as it is over. Something that is emerging. But we have to begin to talk about our good nature and our original nature as my first nature. And that's what I dreamed last night. It has to be our first nature. It's not our second nature, it's our first nature. And we have to reclaim our first nature. And I'm going to proclaim it. It's our first nature. And that's what happens, that our first nature will prevail. One, the heaven, parent of heaven and earth, the true parent of heaven and earth, and the parent of heaven come into one.
That's right.
And finally we have that offer, that milk, to give and feed their children after our arduous past of 2,000 years, 6,000 physical years to bring children to a certain point. That it's not in vain. And as Father said, that how do we understand the true parents of the earth and God? We have to understand the heart of God. What is the heart of God? In restoration, in seeking His children, in trying to create an environment, I heard that word, that will be conducive for Him to begin to finally lead His children so they become like Him as they desire to. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Brother Oliver. Anybody else? So we learned today also that the parents of the cosmos is God. And the cosmos here refers to God's home. The spirit world is God's home. Of course, we know also the parents of heaven and earth, and that is the true parents. So as we have learned today, we are the third generation, as we have read in page 233. However, with God standing in the position of the mind and the true parents standing in the position of the body, we stand in the position of God's grandchildren, the third generation. So hence, these two sets of parents bear fruit in us, and we become the seeds that can be harvested and stored in the heavenly kingdom. So therefore, the parents of heaven, earth, and humankind are the most precious. The true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. So that's our true parents. And what is striking to me here is on page 235. It tells us here, you are no longer sinners, because we already in the completed Testament age. We're not living as sinners anymore, like in even the New Testament. You have been freed from the sin of the fall. So this belongs to people who are blessed, as we have read in the previous paragraph here. The families that have received the blessing are the beginning point of this. Without blessed families, God cannot have His tribe, nation, or world. So, further, He says here, and you have even come to the liberated nation, Cheon Seong Gyeong. But even in the nation of Cheon Seong Gyeong, some are still convicts on death row. I have to liberate even those who are serving life sentences, which is happening even in the secular world. People who would otherwise be in hell for eternity. That is why I proclaim the age of complete freedom. So, as we have learned, the day and the year was claimed by Satan, now is being reclaimed by God. The day of victory of the number 10 combining two halves was the turning point between the era before the coming of heaven and the era after the coming of heaven. So, the day of victory of the number 10 combining two halves is Sang Hab Ship Song Il. And it signaled the time when a new heaven and new earth could begin. So Father already declared before He went to the spiritual world. So I'm sorry to hear sometimes, that even one of the true children, he said, we are all sinners. This is after our Messiah died. So if we read this Hoon Dok hae, we never know that we overcome. We as blessed families are no longer connected. We're free, have been free from the sin of the fall. So we have to work hard. And then we're now in the age of Cheon Seong Gyeong. So that is very, very profound. We ended up on page 236. And the last paragraph here, the coming of the true parents. We have entered an era that transcends religion, transcends nationality, and transcends history. So it's happening before my eyes because I was born Catholic. I was matched to a person a woman who comes from another religion, Buddhist religion. So it transcends even nationality. She's from a different nation. And history, they have a different history that is lighter than mine, because we go to Korea, we need a visa, but for them, they have a king. So naturally they don't have a visa to go to these countries, even Korea. So the era when the true parents take dominion, their dominion connects the Old Testament age, the New Testament age, and the completed Testament age. Moreover, it unites also heaven and earth. So these are all powerful. At the end, that is what made possible the starting point of the true parents of the cosmos, which is God, the true parents of heaven and earth, as the king and queen of the blessed families of peace and unity. So our true father and true mother were crowned king and queen of peace, of the blessed families of peace and unity here in the capital, in the Senate. So anybody else who wants to share about the reading today? So if there's none, let's all rise and have unison prayer. Our most beloved Heavenly Parents, We're so thankful for this reading today. We pray that we can always be liberated and we can liberate God as we have done in the previous chapters and liberate everything that the two parents have lost from the fall. We're so thankful, even God, that we always read about the completed testament age and the children group, and we should not go back to where we were before, either in the New Testament or Old Testament. But it will be a lesson from there that at the time we were sinners, but as we have received the blessing, He has given us His power to be free from the bondage of sin and the bondage of Satan. And we pray we can share this with brothers and sisters, that we're not Old Testament anymore or new, but we are now living in Kingdom. And we pray that we can even speak in front of God against anyone, even our own blessed families, that we are now free from sin of the fall. And we pray that we can always be with you, our heavenly parents, the parents of the cosmos, our God, the two parents, our two parents of heaven and earth and humankind. And we pray that we can always be your instruments to propagate these words and these love, life, and lineage. And we pray that we can always be steadfast and really move forward always and bring more and more people back to your presence. And we pray all this in all our names and in my name, as the Nazarene Christ, the sacred Lamb, blessed sanctified. Are you? 우리의 소원은 두메로 소원은 이모 선받쳐서 Good morning to you, our true teachers, our true masters, our true parents of heaven and earth and humankind. Good morning to all the true children, the true grandchildren, and all true sons and daughters of God. Good morning. Yes, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, God bless. Have a great morning.
Yes, have a great day. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Yes, Marciman say, you're welcome.